Right now, in February 2026, Boston sports fans are experiencing something they haven't felt in years: uncertainty. The Patriots just got demolished in the Super Bowl. The Red Sox are rebuilding. The Bruins are aging out. And the Celtics, fresh off Banner 18 in 2024, are the only ones keeping championship hopes alive. For the first time in over 2 decades, Boston isn't the bully everyone loves to hate. They're not the dynasty grinding teams into dust. They're just another sports city trying to figure it out. But here's the thing, this current drought only makes what Boston accomplished from 2001 to 2019 that much more insane. 12 championships across 4 major sports in less than 2 decades. That's not a dynasty, that's a monopoly. So how did Boston become the most hated, most successful, most insufferable sports city in America? And was it really as dominant as everyone remembers? Let's go! To understand Boston's dominance, you need to understand where they started. Because in the year 2000, Boston sports were a complete joke. The Patriots had never won a Super Bowl, playing in a falling-apart stadium that looked like it was held together with duct tape. The Red Sox hadn't won since 1918, defined entirely by heartbreak, by curses. The Celtics were stuck in mediocrity after the Bird era. The Bruins hadn't won since 1972. This was a city carrying 82 years of baseball misery. 0 football championships. Generational trauma passed down like a family heirloom. Boston fans were angry, defensive, convinced they'd never see a championship parade in their lifetime. And then, everything changed. January 2001. The Patriots were starting a skinny 6th-round backup named Tom Brady. Drew Bledsoe had gotten knocked out of the season. Brady wasn't supposed to be anything special. Slow, average arm strength. Drafted 199th overall. Most teams didn't even have him on their draft board.
Poor build, skinny, lacks great physical stature and strength.
Lacks mobility and ability to avoid the rush. Lacks a really strong arm. Can't drive the ball downfield. Does not throw a really tight spiral.
System-type player who can get exposed if forced to ad lib.
And gets knocked down easily.
But Bill Belichick saw something.
He looked me like a laser eye to eye, and he said, "That's right, and I'm the best decision this organization has ever made."
And in February 2002, Brady led the Patriots to their first ever Super Bowl, upsetting the heavily favored Rams 20-17 on a last-second field goal.
Yard field goal attempt, set to go, snap ball down, kick up, kick is on the way, and it is good! It's good! It's good! And the game is over, and the Patriots are Super Bowl champions!
It's just dream come true, dream come true.
At the time, people thought it was a fluke, a Cinderella story that wouldn't last. They had no idea they were watching the birth of the greatest dynasty in NFL history. Because Brady and Belichick weren't done, not even close. They won again in 2004, destroying the Panthers.
From 41 yards. Looks good.
Then again in 2005, beating the Eagles. 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.
I'm just lucky, I think, to have the opportunity to be on 3 Super Bowl winning teams.
The Patriots had gone from laughingstock to unstoppable force. Brady was playing like a surgeon, dissecting defenses with ice-cold precision. Belichick was out coaching everyone, scheming up game plans that made opposing coaches look like amateurs. And suddenly, Boston had its first taste of championship glory in decades. But then came October 2004, and the Red Sox were about to do the impossible. Down 3-0 in the ALCS against their hated rivals, the New York Yankees. No team in baseball history had ever come back from 0-3. The curse was alive and well. Every Boston fan was preparing for another heartbreak. Another story to pass down about how close they got. The Yankees were celebrating early.
My heart beats a million. This is the moment, but you're down 0-3, okay? You're down in the 9th inning in game 4. Like, all the odds are against you, bro. Well, I'm a gangster.
And then, the Red Sox refused to die. Game 4, extra innings. David Ortiz walks it off with a home run in the 12th.
Ortiz into deep right field. Back is Sheffield. We'll see you later tonight.
The swing of where we were, like embarrassed, kind of hopeless, and about to be swept by the Yankees, to the exhilaration of Poppy walking him off and realizing, like, not only are we still alive, but we actually have momentum and some hope, and we're back.
Game 5, another extra innings battle. Ortiz hits another walk-off, this time a single in the 14th.
Ortiz fights it off center field. Damon running to the plate, and he can keep on running to New York. Game 6 tomorrow night.
The impossible was starting to feel possible.
So the Red Sox, who were down 3-0, are now down 3-2. They're heading for New York.
Game 6, back in New York. Curt Schilling, ankle held together by literal stitches, pitched through blood seeping through his sock. The bloody sock became a symbol. Boston's refusal to quit. They won 4-2.
Red Sox force Game 7.
Game 7, complete domination.
Pitch is line. There's a base hit center field. Vasquez field swung on, hit in the air to deep right. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone.
The Red Sox won 10-3, completing the greatest comeback in baseball history. Then they swept the Cardinals in the World Series like it was nothing.
Swinging a line drive deep to right. If it's fair, it's gone down the line. It is a 3-run homer.
The 86-year curse was broken. The city went absolutely insane. People crying in the streets, hugging strangers, bars running out of beer. It was chaos, joy, relief, all at once. The curse was dead. The Red Sox were champions, and Boston was just getting started. See, what makes Boston's run special isn't just the championships. It's how they kept winning when everyone expected them to fade. Most cities get one dynasty and disappear. Not Boston. They stacked dynasties on top of dynasties like they were playing a video game on easy mode. The Patriots won again in 2015, but this one was different. Super Bowl 51 against the Atlanta Falcons, down 28-3 in the third quarter. The game was over. The dynasty looked dead.
And I was thinking, if we lose the game, this will be the play. You know, if we lose, this is what will define this game. And it didn't define the game.
Let's go now! Let's go show some fight!
And then Tom Brady staged the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. He threw for 466 yards. He led the Patriots to 31 unanswered points. The game went to overtime.
Tight end left. Second and goal to go from the 2.
James White punched it in.
Under the right arm, cuts it upfield, driving forward, diving to the goal line! A touchdown! And a title for the Patriots!
I can't believe it!
They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. Led by the greatest quarterback.
Look at Brady!
In Super Bowl and NFL annals.
One more ring!
James White.
Patriots win. The entire sports world was in shock. Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw that coming. Then they won again in 2017, though they lost to the Eagles in a heartbreaker. But they bounced back in 2019, beating the Rams 13-3 in a defensive slugfest. 6 Super Bowls total for Brady and Belichick, 6 rings, 9 Super Bowl appearances.
In the early 2000s, they won 3 of 4. Now they have won 3 of the last 5. Yes, it's still a dynasty. Tom Brady, a 6-time champion. It never gets old.
The dynasty was complete and undeniable. Brady became the undisputed GOAT. Every record, every milestone, every clutch moment. Belichick became the greatest coach ever, turning average players into champions season after season. And Patriots fans became the most insufferable people on the planet, because they knew they were watching history, and they weren't shy about reminding everyone else. The Red Sox weren't content with just breaking the curse. They won again in 2007, absolutely dominating. Swept the Rockies in the World Series. Winning had never felt so easy. Then 2013 arrived, and Boston needed its teams more than ever. The marathon bombing had shaken the city to its core. 2 bombs at the finish line.
8:33, something just exploded at the finish line.
This was a situation that struck terror into everybody.
Everyone is now scrambling to understand what exactly happened.
Here, we know what else could happen.
3 people killed, hundreds injured. The city was hurting. And David Ortiz, Big Papi, stood at home plate before a game and gave a speech that defined Boston's response.
All right, Boston. This jersey that we wear today, it doesn't say Red Sox. It says Boston. We want to thank you, Mayor Menino, Governor Patrick, the whole police department for the great job that they did this past week. This is our city. And nobody gonna dictate our freedom. Stay strong. Thank you.
It became a rallying cry. Boston Strong wasn't just a slogan, it was an identity. The Red Sox went out and won the World Series that year, giving the city something to celebrate, something to heal around. Then 2018, they dominated from start to finish, 108 wins in the regular season. Mookie Betts and JD Martinez destroying every pitcher they faced. They beat the Dodgers in 5 games, 4 World Series titles in 15 years. A franchise that went 86 years without winning suddenly couldn't stop. The Celtics made their move in 2008. After years of being irrelevant, they assembled the Big Three.
They would join together with the cornerstone of the franchise, Paul Pierce, to give the Celtics a new version of the Big Three.
Paul Pierce, who'd been grinding in Boston for a decade, finally got his help. Kevin Garnett arrived from Minnesota, bringing an intensity the city hadn't seen since Larry Bird. He was screaming, flexing, making every possession feel like war. Ray Allen, the pure shooter, joined them. 3 future Hall of Famers with one goal. They destroyed the Lakers in 6 games.
Garnett diving in, hangs in the air, throws it off the window and in.
The defense picked up in the first quarter, second quarter, and we ready to win this championship. We're not gonna let our foot off the gas pedal. We want it too bad, Michelle. We want it way too bad. So I expect us to come out even harder second half.
Come off the game and I hugged Doc. And I said, I'm happy for you, man. I love you, man. Thanks for everything they say you wasn't. Thank you for, giving me the opportunity to be here. I'm grateful.
The greatest single-season turnaround in NBA history is complete. Banner number 17, soon to be raised to the rafters.
Bringing Banner 17 to Boston. KG screaming, "Anything is possible," captured what every fan felt. After years of mediocrity, the Celtics were champions again. The Bruins, Boston's forgotten team, finally ended their drought in 2011. 39 years without a cup. An entire generation had grown up never seeing Boston hoist the Stanley Cup. Tim Thomas played the playoffs like he was possessed. Zdeno Chara, the 6'9" Slovak giant, was laying people out on defense. Patrice Bergeron was dominating at both ends. They battled Vancouver through 7 games, winning it all on the road. With that cup, Boston had done something unprecedented. Champions in all 4 major sports in 1 decade. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, all conquered, all within 10 years. But let's talk about what made this era special. Because it wasn't just about winning, it was about how they won, and who they did it with. The Patriots won with discipline, with preparation, with a quarterback who elevated everyone around him. Brady took 6th-round picks and turned them into household names. Guys like Julian Edelman, a college quarterback converted to receiver. Guys like Rob Gronkowski, an injury-prone tight end who became unstoppable. Brady made them all look like all pros. The Red Sox won with power, personality, and clutch hitting when it mattered most. David Ortiz was Big Papi, the most beloved athlete in Boston history. He hit walk-off after walk-off. His numbers in elimination games were video game level. When the pressure was highest, he was calmest. The Celtics won with defense, toughness, and 3 Hall of Famers who wanted it more than anyone. Kevin Garnett brought an intensity that scared opponents. He was all over the court, screaming, directing traffic, making everyone better. Paul Pierce was the truth because he always delivered. The wheelchair game against the Lakers lives forever. Ray Allen was the perfect complement, the deadliest 3-point shooter alive. The Bruins won with old-school hockey. They weren't the most skilled team, but they were the toughest, the most physical, the most committed. Zdeno Chara laying people out on defense. Patrice Bergeron, the best 2-way player in hockey. Tim Thomas making saves that defied physics. During that 2011 run, he was possessed. Vancouver couldn't solve him. Nobody could. It was gritty, blue-collar, perfectly Boston hockey. And Boston fans knew exactly how good they had it. They bragged about it constantly. Everywhere they went, they wore their jerseys with pride. They filled stadiums every single night, rain or shine, creating atmospheres that visiting teams absolutely dreaded. Fenway Park became a fortress where opponents' hopes went to die. TD Garden turned into a nightmare for anyone wearing the wrong colors. Gillette Stadium in January? That's where championship dreams froze solid. The fans were loud, knowledgeable about every stat and strategy, and absolutely merciless if you gave them a reason. You mess up in Boston? They let you know immediately. Talk trash? You better back it up or they'll bury you. Sports radio in Boston became must-listen content. Felger and Maz arguing for 4 straight hours about whether the Patriots should have run more, whether the Red Sox bullpen was good enough, whether the Celtics needed another piece. Callers screaming their opinions. Everyone convinced they could coach better than the professionals. This wasn't just a city that liked sports. This was a city where sports were religion, identity, culture, all rolled into one. And winning only made the obsession deeper, the passion louder, the fans more insufferable to everyone else. But with all that success came hate. Massive, visceral hate from the rest of the country. The kind of hate that makes entire stadiums root against you. Patriots fans were called cheaters because of Spygate, because of Deflategate, because they just kept winning, and people needed some explanation beyond, "They're better than us." Red Sox fans were called bandwagoners, even though they'd suffered through 86 years of misery. Celtics fans were called arrogant for counting their 17 banners. Every single fan base in America had a reason to hate Boston, and they all did. New York hated them because the Red Sox kept beating the Yankees in the most painful ways imaginable. That 2004 ALCS comeback? It broke Yankee fans' souls forever. Philadelphia hated them because the Patriots dynasty crushed their Super Bowl dreams multiple times. Los Angeles hated them because the Celtics-Lakers rivalry became one-sided. The entire NFL hated the Patriots because they were just that much better than everyone else, year after year after year, with no end in sight. But here's the beautiful thing about Boston. They didn't care. If anything, the hate fueled them, made them stronger. Tom Brady used every slight, every doubt, every criticism as motivation. That 199th overall pick haunted him his entire career, in the best way possible. David Ortiz fed off hostile crowds, smiling and tipping his cap before crushing a home run. Kevin Garnett thrived in the hatred. He wanted you to hate him, because it meant he was winning, dominating, breaking your spirit. They turned the hate into championships, which only made people hate them more, which fueled more championships. It was a beautiful, vicious cycle that drove the rest of the country absolutely insane, while Boston fans ate it up. The numbers back it up in a way that's almost hard to believe. From 2001 to 2019, Boston won 12 championships across 4 major sports. The Patriots won 6 Super Bowls. The Red Sox won 4 World Series. The Celtics won 1 NBA title. The Bruins won 1 Stanley Cup. 12 titles in 19 years. Let me put that in perspective. New York, the second biggest sports city in America, won 6 championships in that same span. Los Angeles won 5. Chicago won 6. Houston won 3. Boston doubled everyone. They won more Super Bowls than any other city in NFL history. They won more World Series than any city except San Francisco. They were unmatched, unbeatable, and completely unapologetic about their dominance. Their championship parades became legendary events that shut down the entire city. Duck boats rolling through the streets, carrying championship teams, millions of fans flooding downtown Boston, taking over every street, every sidewalk, every square inch of space. These weren't just celebrations, they were cultural phenomena. Players holding up trophies, giving speeches, celebrating with the fans who'd supported them through everything. Tom Brady riding on a duck boat in his signature hoodie, looking uncomfortable with all the attention but loving every second. David Ortiz taking selfies with the crowd, his smile as big as the trophy. Bill Belichick awkwardly waving, probably thinking about next season's draft picks even in the middle of the parade. These moments became as iconic as the championships themselves. The parades became so frequent that people started joking about them. Another parade? I went to 3 of these last year. It was the most obnoxious first world problem imaginable, and Boston fans loved it. Let's talk about the key players who made this all possible. Because dynasties don't just happen, they require greatness, and Boston had it at every position. Tom Brady, 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots, 4 Super Bowl MVPs, 3 league MVPs, 15 Pro Bowls. The greatest quarterback of all time, and it's not even remotely close. He turned the Patriots into a machine that ran on precision and preparation. Every year, analysts would say he was declining. Every year, he'd prove them wrong. He played until he was 43 years old, maintaining elite-level play into his 40s, something that shouldn't be physically possible. And even then, when he finally left New England, he went to Tampa Bay and won another Super Bowl at 43, just to prove he could do it without Belichick. His legacy is completely untouchable. Bill Belichick, the mad genius in a hoodie. 8 Super Bowl appearances as a head coach, 6 wins, 9 Super Bowl rings total if you count his time as a defensive coordinator with the Giants, the greatest coach in NFL history by any measure. He turned average players into stars. He adapted to every rule change, every opponent, every era. He never got comfortable, never stopped evolving, never stopped finding edges. And he did it all with zero personality, zero media friendliness, and a hoodie that looked like he bought it at a gas station in 1987. But none of that mattered, because he won. And in Boston, winning is all that matters. David Ortiz, Big Papi, the heart and soul of Red Sox Nation. He wasn't just a player, he was a phenomenon, a cultural icon who transcended baseball. His clutch hitting is the stuff of legend. In elimination games, he hit .386 with a ridiculous OPS. When the Red Sox needed a hit, he delivered. When they needed a home run, he crushed one. When they needed leadership, he gave speeches. His marathon bombing speech became one of the most iconic moments in Boston sports history. He carried teams on his back when they had no business winning, and he did it all with a smile, with love for the city, with appreciation for what it meant to be part of Red Sox history. Kevin Garnett brought the Celtics back to relevance single-handedly. When he arrived in 2008, the Celtics hadn't been relevant in years. Within months, they were champions. His intensity was unlike anything the NBA had seen. He turned defense into an art form, communication into a weapon. He screamed, he directed traffic, he made everyone around him better through sheer force of will. And when he won that title, when he screamed, "Anything is possible," it captured what every Boston fan felt. After years of futility, anything was possible. Championships were possible. Greatness was possible. Zdeno Chara became the face of the Bruins for over a decade. The 6'9" Slovak defenseman who played through everything. Broken jaw? He came back wearing a mask. Multiple injuries? He played through them. He led by example, never complaining, never making excuses, just showing up and dominating. Patrice Bergeron was the most complete two-way player in hockey, winning the Selke Trophy as the best defensive forward 5 times. Tim Thomas, during that 2011 playoff run, was playing hockey that looked impossible. His save percentage, his goals against average, his ability to steal games. These weren't just athletes grinding out careers, they were legends cementing their places in Boston sports history forever. But here's where the story takes a turn, because all dynasties end, all great runs come to a close. And Boston's dominance, as incredible as it was, couldn't last forever. Tom Brady left the Patriots after the 2019 season, ending the greatest quarterback-coach partnership in NFL history. 20 years together, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 championships, and then it was over. Brady wanted respect, wanted a new challenge, wanted to prove he could do it without Belichick. The dynasty died that day.
Do you see slippage in Tom Brady, or do you see a quarterback that had no weapons and was held accountable for the absence of talent he had available to him?
As great as Tom Brady is, Bill Belichick has a way of treating everybody like this. And if you've had the career that Tom has had, don't you think you want to taste free agency and everything that comes with it?
Breaking news today, legendary New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady leaving the team with which he won 6 Super Bowls.
After 20 unimaginable seasons with the Patriots, Tom Brady is saying goodbye and moving on.
He is ending his 20-year run with the only team he has ever known.
Patriots fans are slowly digesting the news that Tom Brady will no longer be their quarterback.
It was inevitable. All good things must come to an end, right?
Bill Belichick tried to replicate the magic, but it turned out Brady was more important than anyone realized. The Patriots fell into mediocrity, missing the playoffs, drafting quarterbacks who couldn't fill those massive shoes. The Red Sox made one of the worst decisions in franchise history, trading Mookie Betts to the Dodgers for salary relief.
He's definitely going to win multiple MVPs in the next decade. He might win this year. What are we doing?
One of the best players in baseball, homegrown, beloved, and they let him walk. The team went into rebuild mode, and suddenly, championships felt like ancient history. The Bruins kept making the playoffs year after year, but they couldn't get over the hump. Close, but not close enough. They were stuck in hockey purgatory. Good enough to compete, but not good enough to win. Only the Celtics, led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, managed to keep the winning tradition alive. Banner 18 in 2024 was validation, proof that Boston could still win championships. But it was also a reminder of how spoiled the city had been. And now, in February 2026, after watching the Patriots get absolutely destroyed in the Super Bowl by the Seahawks, Boston fans are facing a reality they haven't faced in over 20 years. Their teams are just average. Good maybe, but not great. Not dominant. Not winning parades. The championships have stopped coming. The parades have stopped rolling. The dynasty is officially, definitively over. So how good was Boston's era of dominance actually? It was the greatest run any city has ever had in sports history. And that's not Boston bias talking. That's just facts. 12 championships across 4 major sports. 2 decades of sustained excellence at the highest level. A level of success that will probably never be replicated. Because it's basically impossible. They turned a city of tortured, suffering, cursed fans into the most spoiled, most successful, most insufferable fans in America. They made Boston the undisputed center of the sports universe. They created legends who'll be talked about forever, broke curses that seemed unbreakable, built dynasties that redefined what success looks like in professional sports. But the legacy isn't just about the championships themselves, as incredible as those were. It's about what those championships meant to the people who experienced them. For the older generation of Boston fans, the ones who'd suffered through decades of losing, it was validation. Pure, sweet validation. They'd watched their teams break their hearts year after year, and they finally got to see them win. Not just once, but over and over again. For the younger generation, the ones who grew up during the dynasty years, it was expectation. They didn't know what it was like to be bad. They grew up watching championships, learning that winning was normal, that parades were annual events. They learned to expect greatness as the baseline, not the exception. And for the players themselves, it was immortality. Brady, Ortiz, Garnett, Chara. These names will live forever in Boston sports lore. Their jerseys will hang in the rafters of every arena and stadium. Their statues will stand outside those buildings. They gave an entire city everything it ever wanted and more. They delivered moments, memories, and magic that will be passed down through generations. And even now, with the dominance over and the championships dried up, the impact of that era remains everywhere. Every championship team in Boston is measured against those teams from 2001 to 2019. Every quarterback who plays for the Patriots is immediately compared to Tom Brady, which is an impossible standard that no one can meet. Every clutch hitter who comes through the Red Sox system is compared to David Ortiz. Every defensive anchor for the Celtics is compared to Kevin Garnett. The bar was set so impossibly high that it feels impossible for anyone to reach it. But that's the burden of greatness, the curse of success. When you win that much, when you dominate that thoroughly, anything less feels like complete failure. The Patriots making the playoffs isn't enough anymore. The Red Sox finishing with a winning record isn't enough. The Celtics winning a championship in 2024 was incredible, a moment of joy. But fans were already asking when the next one was coming before the parade even ended. Boston fans were spoiled by 2 decades of dominance, and now they can't go back to being patient, hopeful underdogs. They expect greatness because they've seen it, they've lived it, they've experienced what it's like to be on top of the sports world. And here's the final thing to understand about Boston's era of dominance. It wasn't just about the teams on the field, on the ice, on the court. It was about the city itself, and how it rallied around these teams in a way that few cities ever have. Sports became more than entertainment. They became identity, culture, religion. After the marathon bombing in 2013, when the city was hurting and scared, the Red Sox gave Boston something to rally around, something to believe in. They gave the city hope when it needed it most, then delivered a championship that meant more than just a trophy. After years of Patriots' dominance, the parades became a way for the entire city to come together and celebrate, to forget about everything else for a day, and just enjoy being part of something special. The championships weren't just sports victories counted in rings and trophies. They were cultural moments that defined an era. They were shared experiences that brought people together, across neighborhoods that normally don't mix, across generations that don't always understand each other, across every social and economic divide that exists in a city. That's what makes Boston's run so special when you really think about it. It wasn't just about winning games and collecting hardware. It was about what those wins meant to the people who lived there, who suffered through all those years of heartbreak, who never gave up hope even when hope seemed foolish. It was about vindication for the longtime fans, and magic for the new generation. It was about proving that a city could be great at everything, that Boston could compete with New York, LA, and Chicago on every level and come out on top. For nearly 2 decades, Boston was untouchable, and the rest of the sports world had to deal with it. So as we sit here in 2026, watching the Patriots try to rebuild with Drake May, watching the Red Sox figure out their next move, watching the Bruins age gracefully but struggle to recapture glory, we can look back on those 2 decades with genuine appreciation and awe. Boston's era of dominance was real. It was historic. It was unprecedented. It was everything sports should be, competitive greatness at its absolute peak. And it may never happen again, not in Boston, not in any city. Because what they accomplished was lightning in a bottle, multiplied by 4 different sports. But for those 19 years, from Tom Brady's first Super Bowl in 2001 to his last with the Patriots in 2019, Boston was the undisputed king of American sports. They won more than anyone else. They dominated more consistently than anyone else. They made the rest of the country absolutely miserable, while making their own fans the happiest people on earth. 12 championships, dozens of legendary moments, countless memories that will last forever. That's how good Boston's era of dominance actually was. It was the greatest run in sports history, a 2-decade masterclass in winning that we'll probably never see again. And no matter what happens next, no matter how long the current drought lasts, no one can ever take those championships away from them. No one can erase those moments. No one can deny what Boston accomplished. They were that good. They really were. If you enjoyed this video, stick with Primetime Sports, subscribe, and check out some of our other content right here.